This morning has been filled with a series of thought-provoking conversations. To round out these discussions, we want to turn to our attention to the role of diversity in business. Please join me in welcoming Monica Mantilla, the president and CEO of Altura Capital, an investment solutions company that currently serves 16 of the largest institutional investors in the world. Susie Jaramillo, chief creative officer at Canticos, a branded collection of some of the most beloved nursery rhymes and songs from all over the Spanish-speaking world. And Patricia Funegra, the CEO of La Cocina VA, a workforce and small business development nonprofit organization that provides vocational and technical job training for the food service and hospitality industries. Juleka Lantigua Williams is back for this final conversation. Juleka, over to you.
Hi. Now I get to look at you guys. Thank you so much, ladies. I've devised a quick challenge for them. 12 seconds to give us the elevator pitch for each of your businesses. Go.
Wow, okay. So I guess I would say purpose, right? What do we do? And so that philosophical statement of what we do every day is the aim of transforming societies through entrepreneurial success.
That sounds fancy. Okay. Next.
I'll share more.
So in Cantos Media Studios, we tell stories inspired by a world of culture. Our first brand and story platform is Canticos. Now you can find Canticos on nickjr.com. And soon you will see a suite of Canticos products in a big box store near you.
I'm in the business of empowering the planners, the makers of better futures through providing access to an ecosystem of resources for entrepreneurs and job seekers.
Nice. That was all under 12 seconds.
Okay.
I would invest. I would totally invest. All right. So you guys are here today because you created something that didn't exist before, right? But there isn't such a thing as an overnight success. So I imagine that there were a lot of challenges and obstacles that you guys overcame. I'd like for you to touch upon one that you thought was the most instructive for you, that from which you derived important lessons about how to continue on your path to being a businesswoman. Patricia.
Yeah, I will probably present it in two different sides of the problem or the challenge. One is the systemic, more big picture challenge that we face, but then it's our own personal challenges. There is a very interesting study from the Rockefeller Foundation, sponsored not too long ago, and they interview CEOs from 5,000 Fortune companies, and they found that only 12% of them ever believed that they will ever be a CEO. So we have to believe in ourselves, and if somebody tells us you have potential, we have to believe it and do something about it. So I would say personal challenges are things that are under our control, and that we have to be aware of that.
Thank you. Susie?
So I'm an artist by training and an entrepreneur by character, I would say. And this is my second entrepreneurial venture after the advertising world, where I sold the agency and took time off to center myself on my purpose, and combine that with what I thought was a white space and a need that needed to be served. I have a deep affection and love for our culture, and I saw a massive white space in terms of how our culture was being served by the content out there and the brands out there, especially knowing how retailers feel about the Latina customer. And therefore, I created a company designed to fill that need, to fill that white space of content that was IP that could go to CP, right? To service
IP
that.
to CP.
IP is intellectual property, CP is consumer product. It's a very simple Doc McStuffins world, right? So, I mean, we need our brands. Where are our stories? Where are our brands? Where are our characters? It's 2% of Hollywood is Latino, 18% of the population is Latino. We have this wonderful, rich heritage. I'm an artist by training. I love stories. I'm a storyteller, a brand builder. So I believe that the best use of my skill set would be to center myself on that. And there's the old saying, like, if you don't believe in you, who else will? So I just started doing it because you only get one shot at life, and it's what I was meant to do.
All right, so I hear belief in self. I hear feeling a void.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been extremely passionate about, and it's because it's such a big challenge, right? And I feel that we do all together have the capacity to overcome it, is the huge opportunity that relies in our communities and in women and in the Hispanic community. We think about the Hispanic community, there's a $1.5 trillion gap that if we were at parity of capital, we would be able to grow and transform our companies in a much more significant way than what we have the ability to do now. So for me, that's a big problem that I love to help address and resolve. And so that it's a question that is a very complex one because it has many areas. It has an area of getting better research so we can better understand our problems. It has an aspect of building our entrepreneurial capacity, so entrepreneurs are better at what they do. And it also has a perspective of getting to work better with corporations so that we can provide the products and services that they need and we can win together. So for me, that's a huge problem, but also a huge opportunity. And what we've tried to do is build the financial solutions that will allow these companies, as we identify them and work with them, to be able to grow. So we can give them both capital and strategic resources. And the big challenge on a personal side, I'd say, is I came when I was 25 years old, and I was a lady in a new country with no job, with no networks, with just great education and a great family who supported us. So I think that we as immigrants reinvent ourselves when we come here, but that actually creates like an interesting contrast of who we were in our countries, who we are here, and we end up feeling, what I feel now is that we truly are one. It's just a journey that has had, not many stops.
So I want to pivot from what you just said, because I think you touched upon probably the most consequential barrier to entry, which is access to capital. So I want to ask Patricia and Susie to talk about, in as much detail as you can and as frankly as you can, about how did you overcome that? Because it takes money to make money. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely. I'm in the nonprofit sector, so it's probably different than my colleagues here. But grants and donations are the regular sources of funding. However, we are exploring and working with impact investors these days, which is it's a new movement that of investors, private funds and private money that are trying to do well and do good at the same time. So they put their money and their investments on the issues that they care about. So workforce development in our case, and entrepreneurship. So we are exploring that interesting new space. And for the ones in the audience interested in working or currently working in the nonprofit sector, I will suggest to explore that and to be open-minded. We have to create different sources of revenue. It's a competitive market, and even more now than ever with the political context, nonprofits are suffering from that. But we have to be, like in business, smart, creative, innovative to find different sources of funding.
thank you. Susie?
So I had the fortune of working in media prior to this second incarnation of who we are. And in media, I was able to have great relationships with so many, Latin professionals who understood the white space and understood the massive opportunity around the Latina customer, right? So when I came up with this idea, I took it to my friends and colleagues who I knew would just would see the white space, would get the opportunity, and we self-funded together. Okay. And with our relationships, because between the four of us, we know a lot of people, we were able to put a lot together. So it really came from understanding the white space, understanding how to put the pieces together creatively, understanding what kind of expertise, what kind of media expertise, background expertise can help bring the project to life, and just as professionals funding it ourselves, and that's how we got it off the ground.
And something I'd like to mention that has to do with your question is there's wonderful organizations like the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative, for example, that are helping companies to scale, helping companies connect with capital, getting the right research out there. So it's great to see that as we evolve as a community, we are developing the right infrastructure to be able to, create the outcomes that we all want.
That was perfect, because my next question is to you, because you, all of us, have more of a bird's eye view on the trends within Latina business and entrepreneurship. And so I wanted to know, where are the greatest opportunities right now? In what sectors, in what field? Where is the it career for 5 or 10 years from now that Latina should be thinking about today?
That's a great question. And so we have a pool of capital, $147 billion to invest in small businesses. So we're always asking ourselves the question, where are we going to deploy it? So we listen a lot to corporate America because corporate America is the biggest potential buyer of goods and services of Latinos. So for example, in the retail sector, there's ethnic food, there's ethnic products. We were just talking about media products, right? Addressing, cultural affinities. And so we try to listen to the voice of corporations and understand what they need, whether it's retail, whether it's manufacturing capacity, infrastructure building, and it could be healthcare. For example, there's a lot of transformational models in healthcare. There's lots of transformational models in education. So we're trying to listen to the voice of the market, and we're sort of always tracking a recipe of 4 ingredients, right? Okay. Finding the right entrepreneurs, finding the right small minority businesses to invest in, finding the right corporations that will buy the goods and services, and providing them the right capital structure so those 3 pieces, and with the 4th capital, can create the right successful story. So, but I would say in the retail arena, there's definitely a great opportunity to continue to work with the Krogers of the world, the Walmarts of the world, the CVSs of the world, to be able to address the needs that, because our market is not the minority market anymore. Right. Our market is actually the majority market.
And just to jump in, our
Yes.
market drives the growth. Like all
Absolutely.
across
Yeah.
the board in terms of retail and CP, it's all the Hispanic market that's really driving the growth, which is why there's so much opportunity. If you understand that market and you can bring these companies closer to the customer, you have an edge.
And I would like to add something which is actually one step behind access to capital. We work with clients from underserved communities, low income, and women coming from troubled backgrounds. So when they have an idea to open a business, and in our case, in the food service industry, they feel lost. They don't know where to start, where to go, who to talk to, what type of training they need to access. And capital comes at the end of that road. We are now working on creating an ecosystem that packs and offers all these resources all together. What type of training, what type of network you have to be exposed to, what type of certifications, business ideas, how to develop your business plan, how to have a solid presentation in front of potential investors. So finding a way to pack all the resources that are needed by entrepreneurs to take the next step and to make that idea a reality and bring it to life.
Absolutely. So Susie, I have a question for you because like you, I started out as a creator, as a writer, and now I'm a businesswoman, and it's a psychological leap. It really is. I mean, I'm still kind of like in the middle of the leap, hoping to just land on the other side. But a lot of really, really talented Latinas come from the creative field, right? They're artists, they're designers, they're performers, they're writers, all kinds. And they have a really hard time envisioning that what they do is a business. So what advice would you give to the creative Latinas who really should be thinking about themselves as an LLC, you know?
Yeah. So understand your audience, understand what they're looking for, and understand the business opportunity around what you do, because people have a ton of options, and there must be more than just your love of doing it. If nobody wants to buy it, you won't get very far. So, and hence, when we started with Canticos, we started with these beloved nursery rhymes because, oh my gosh, everyone loves Los Pollitos, but there's no really cute Los Pollitos board book, and there's no really cute Elefantitos board book. So, I mean, when you start with like the low-hanging fruit in terms of like the white space, great, you're talented. Okay, now how can you apply those talents to like the market needs? Right? What out there do people really want to see? What story hasn't been told that you feel there's an audience hankering for that story? Find that story and tell it, right? So that would be my advice. It's not about you. It's about how your talents can serve a wider audience.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're looking to build a business, I would say find your business partner, right?
Okay.
Everybody brings something to the table. You might be the creative side.
Yeah.
So make sure you find someone that also knows accounting, knows finance, knows financial projections, and learn it. Don't be afraid of it. Learn it, embrace it.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. I am right there. I love you, Excel. Ooh, me and Excel every day, duking it out. But actually, I was going to come back to you, Monica, because I feel like leadership comes naturally to Latinas. I have nieces, and they run everything. I mean, I have a 3.5-year-old who tells my 8-year-old to sit, and he's like, "Okay, ma'am." And so I feel like the leadership comes naturally, but the imagining oneself as CEO, as an entrepreneur, that definitely takes a leap. So when should we start thinking about introducing these ideas to our girls, and how do we also create examples for them at home, in their classrooms, in their friend groups? Like, how do we put that spark in them?
So I have two daughters, a 12-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I started to talk to them about stocks and bonds and entrepreneurship since they, like, along with ABC 1, 2, 3, right? Because I think that all these are concepts that, and my mother, I think I am, and I've done the humble things I've been able to accomplish because I had a mother who always told me there's no limit. You can, work hard, study hard, demonstrate your caliber, and there was this sense of no limit. And I think that is a very important thing to instill in our girls, that there are no limits, that there are mistakes we will make, that there are many things we need to learn, that we'll have strengths and weaknesses always, but that the path is always there for the one who's able to learn, pick up the pieces, and move forward. And just be able to stand up, learn the lesson, and move forward. So I think that there's never a too young for that. And I think that instilling that in ourselves also, because, the road, as you said at the beginning, is one where there always will be failures and successes. And we probably will learn more about the failures than we will about the successes. And so having that mindset of every opportunity that went south is actually a great opportunity to sit down, reflect, and say, given that happened, what's my next game going to be? So, and never too young is there.
I think my daughter is 6, and she's the most efficient boss lady of the house. Like, she runs everything. So I think sometimes they just pick things up. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Just to set the best example you can possibly set, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I think that summarizes to role models. And for the ones that have been called to serve and are participating at platforms of influence and some type of power, it's our responsibility to bring others along the way and expose them to leadership development opportunities, to be actives in their community. So role models and mentors are important as well.
So good, you were the last one to talk. My question is for you. Well, it's for all of you, but I wanted you to start thinking about it because you alluded to it in an earlier response where you said that the current political environment has had some impact on nonprofits. And the question is for the entire panel, has the current political environment positively or negatively impacted your business and how you go about it?
Definitely impacted my community, the Latino community that we work with here in the DMV region. There is a lot of fear. But on the other side, the example of Alexandria winning last night in New York, to me, activism is the suspension of disbelief. So we have to go out and put our word in front of, once again, these tables of influence to advocate for change. And that's what we teach and expose our clients to. We have to have a voice that represents us, and diversity only gives us that representation, but inclusion is what will give us real change. So to bring those voices to those tables, to invite elected officials to come down to the communities and not just to talk to them, but to listen to what they have to say and do something about it. And us, as representatives of those communities, to follow through, to keep advocating and influence that system that unfortunately is going through very tough times these days.
Thank you. Susie.
I think that given the current sort of climate and the conversation around Latinos and who we are, it becomes more and more important that we control our narrative, that we tell our own stories of who we are as a people, of what our culture looks like. The idea with Canticos is that when Canticos goes into supermarkets and you see, plush, beautiful Los Pollitos and books and clothing, you'll think, this is my culture. I'm badging myself with some of the most beautiful parts of what made my childhood wonderful, right? So I think it creates actually more demand for content where you are well represented, for content that speaks to you. So I think on the one hand, it's a challenging climate, but on the other hand, it really creates more market demand to see how people should be represented.
Hence Coco's massive
Exactly,
success.
massive success.
Okay.
And I think on the entrepreneurial side, Hispanic firms are growing at 3 times the pace of the rest of the market. So we're growing regardless, right? In this market, we'll continue to boom. That speaks to a tremendous amount of opportunity. And I'm a private equity fund, and many private equity funds invest in companies that are 5 million plus EBITDA, 10 million plus EBITDA. We're on this lower side of 1 to 5 million EBITDA. We could do larger, but we see a lot of opportunity in that smaller market. So, and it's still underserved. There's still much less competition that there is on the upper tier. So what we see is a tremendous amount of opportunity, and actually through this new tax reform, there's a phenomenal opportunity, a window of opportunity with the opportunity zones that have been created. And so I think that is something to be tracked, to be developed. There's a phenomenal opportunity to create pools of funds that are going to serve these opportunity zones. And that is probably estimated it is estimated to be on the $1 trillion market, larger than the CDFI world or the new market tax credit. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity if we look at it from the entrepreneurial side, and it's important to be attentive to those and build the infrastructures and the solutions that can continue to serve our markets.
That's beautiful. All right, I've got 2 questions from the audience. Right there, hi. Yes, you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Elisa Cruz, and I'm 16 years old, and this is my first time here. And I had an interesting question because although I have a passion for politics, this summit is also about CEOs and business. And to me, for the panel, my question actually came on time. Why is it important for young people to start thinking about business, to start thinking about the market, stocks and bonds, and not only for Latinos, but just all minorities in general? And also focusing back on Latinos, why is it important for us, you guys mentioned identity and all of that, like Coco, and just in general, why do we need to know? Because I'm pretty sure some of us, I had economics class and I was just like, ugh. So it's just why do we have to start having these conversations now? And also, what can we do?
All right, thank you so much, and welcome. You want to go first?
Sure. So we probably have to think about the future of work. And the future of work is threefold for me. It's all rooted on entrepreneurship. So people like us that all over the world are starting companies to create change or to create wealth. And the second piece of that threefold is intrapreneurship, which is how corporations are now looking to hire entrepreneurs, people with entrepreneurial skills, people that are problem solvers, people that take risk and are innovative. And the third part of that threefold is freelance. Freelance represents 53 million jobs in the United States, and it's around 34% of our population, and it's going to grow to 45%, it's expected. So thinking about what the future is expecting from all of us, what type of skills, what type of systems around us have to be created in order for us and you as a young women to succeed.
That was a great answer. I know, we can skip everybody else. I'm joking.
No,
Susie.
I just want to, I would just So I think at 16, I don't think you do have to worry about stocks and bonds right now. I think that I would like everyone,
we will get to the center. We will get to the center.
Until you understand them, in which case you should. But I think that I think the definition of an entrepreneur is someone that doesn't need to be told to do something to do it. I think an entrepreneur is someone who sees an opportunity and takes it. That is an entrepreneur. And that is a skill set that everybody wants, everyone in corporate wants. So I think right now you should figure out what your superpowers are. What do you do well, right? And you should focus on that and cultivate those so that you can be the kind of person that sees something and decides you're going to do something about it and does it. I think that's probably the best way to spend your time right now. But.
And I think that there's two tracks of this conversation, right? One is why entrepreneurship, and the other one is why build our own financial capacity. And I'll tell you some thoughts about the importance of building our own financial capacity. Capital is the blood of our financial system, is the blood of our economic system. We as a community need to be architects of our own solutions. We need to aspire to have our own banks, our own CDFIs, our own funds, our own organizations that are going to be attentive to our needs. And that's the way many other communities have done it. Not to be isolated in any way, but to actually be able to participate in an effective way. One of our most successful opportunities was when U.S. Treasury gave us the chance to run 2 significant programs and partnered us with some of the largest institutional investors in the world to do so. So I think that building our financial capacity and being architects of our own solutions is at the core of being successful as a community, alongside political power and entrepreneurial power. But building our own financial capacity, in my estimation, is fundamental for our success. So we need you in finance.
Yeah, definitely. All right, one more question right here in the front.
Hi, good morning. My name is Andy Franco. So what advice would you give to Latinas who are thinking about building their own business, but they're getting a lot of either negative advice or, you cannot build that due to XYZ reasons, basically getting not support, whether from family members or close friends? How would you face that?
Monica, let's start with you.
Well, it's very important to differentiate a hobby and a business. If you're serious about building a business, you need to build it as a business. And you need to start with that Excel spreadsheet of, okay, how's my revenue going to build, and what's my cost structure, and what are the capital expenditures that I need to invest, and who are the people that I'm going to need, and what's my operations and my marketing and all these pieces that will build a business. And there are resources to help you do that. There's many resources, city level, federal level, or academia. And so if you're really intentful and committed to building a business, build a business. And think about all those pieces. And before you invest $1, would be my advice, do a very thorough analysis to understand that your business is not only something that you have a passion for, but is actually something that the market needs and the market will buy. And you need to do the analysis of at what price and who are your competitors and all these things that come about building a business. So I think that there's where the difference relies, on just not saying, I'm going to open and I'm going to test and sort of, because then that's doomed for failure. If you're very serious about doing it, put together a business plan. Think about, and there's so many resources out there online for free that you can use. And then you come to your own terms and say, this business is viable. This business really has an opportunity.
And I would say talk to people in the business that you want to go into. Get advice from the people that are already practicing what you want to do. Don't get it from your family members necessarily. Honestly, get it from people who really know the business, who are doing what you want to do, who can tell you what the pitfalls will be, what are the things that you need to focus on. They'll help guide you, and get mentors that are in the field that you want to go into. That's the best way to grow wisely.
Well, I think Susie and Monica have said most of what will be the tips to start with. However, look for your passion. And when I talk to my friends about passion, they say, it's easy for you, you are Latina, Latinas are passionate. I say, no, not about that, not that type of passion, the passion that makes you...
the other passion.
The passion that really you realize during the day it's 5 in the afternoon, you didn't get breakfast, you didn't get lunch. You are so much into what you want to build. That thing that makes you wake up in the morning happy to go over your day, and understand what solution you are bringing to the world. We are providing solutions to social and economic issues. We are providing a need for consumers. Understand what is that solution that you are proposing to the world, and become a subject matter expert. That nobody knows more about that than you.
All right, let's thank them for their brilliance, please.